We have finally gotten our first official images of the upcoming King of the Hill revival on Hulu in the form of a poster. There's a shocking amount to glean from this one single image. The King of the Hill revival was announced years ago at this point, and so far everything we know about it has come in the form of cast members yapping about or posting images of stuff that they were not supposed to, as well as some major storyboard leaks. So let's absolutely pour over this poster and go over a lot of the new information we know about the show and get stoked because it looks good. Okay, so right off the bat, we have got our new character model reveals for the boys, all once again hanging in the alley. Though we cannot see Dale's face as he is buried in a VR headset. We can immediately see that Boomhauer in particular looks quite a bit older, pretty visible wrinkles and bags under his eyes here, hairline slightly receding it seems. Bill looks like he has aged the least, though this kind of stems from the fact that he was always in relatively bad shape. We do of course see some new wrinkles around the eyes, but the age seems to be the least noticeable on him. Dale, again, we can't see his face, so remains to be seen. Hank definitely looks a bit older, and his hair seems to be graying a little bit, but just not fully. A little duller of a brown, splitting the difference between his old brown hair and the gray that's to come. The eye bags are new as well, showing the wear and age. My immediate thoughts on the character models are that they look great. They're the characters we know and love, naturally aged. Though the show ended 15 years ago, we actually know from Pamela Adlin's interviews that the characters have all aged 8 years, and this looks about right to me in these models. Boomhauer maybe looks like he's aged a little bit more than 8 years, but not by much. But I think the things we see in the rest of the poster are very telling for what we can expect from this show in story and in its themes. I'm sure there will be lots of people just immediately groaning and writing it off because, oh my god, modern things, Boomhauer get iPad. But the reality is that this show was always about the world changing around Hank Hill and his struggles to adapt to those things. It would be weird if they weren't exploring modern aspects of society and showcasing Hank's struggles to adapt to those things. That's what the show was always about. The world changing around Hank Hill and his struggles to adapt to those things. And that is exactly what this poster shows. Because, pointedly, Bill, Dale, and Boomhauer have all embraced modern technology. Bill is getting food delivered from Megalo Eats, Dale is wearing a VR headset and vaping, and, well, Boomhauer get iPad. But Hank is absolutely not engaging with any of that modern technology. He's the only one in this poster who isn't, and he does not look particularly happy about his surroundings. This is obviously holding over the themes from the original show. This was always what the show was about. Hank being forced to engage with the things that he does not really care to explore or understand, before usually finding some sort of inroad with those things that help him better understand. But I think these wardrobes also might say a lot about these characters, because while all of the boys except Hank are engaging with modern tech, they are also all still wearing the exact same outfits we remember from the original series, whereas Hank is actually shown to be wearing a completely new outfit. Typically, we see Hank wearing a standard white t-shirt, though when he's at work at Strickland Propane, he would be wearing a blue button-up shirt. And I think this could be hinting heavily towards what the show might be saying about Hank, because while all of the other boys are engaging with all of these modern pieces of technology, it seems like this might be hinting that they have largely stagnated in their lives. Sure, there are new things they're engaging with the world through, but they are pointedly in the same place that they've always been, wearing the same fits that they've always been. Meanwhile, while Hank has refused to engage with the world through these modern technological advancements, he seems to have advanced himself, at least in some way. I'm very curious how this might present itself in the narrative. My guess is that it will probably be through his work and career. Obviously, over the course of the show, Hank was constantly trying to move up from assistant manager at Strickland Propane, and it is possible that he did move up to manager, or that Buck has died, leaving Hank in charge of Strickland Propane, but I think that's maybe a bit too easy of an answer. And honestly, I think Hank being at Strickland still might actually be too representative of that stagnation I just mentioned. I'm very sure that Hank still works in Propane. This is Hank Hill after all, but I get the sense that he has maybe actually moved on from Strickland. Maybe found a new angle or avenue to pursue his love of propane in modern times. In fact, I could very easily see him eventually moving on after Buck continually refused to move him up to manager or leave him properly in charge. Or maybe Buck has died and Strickland has gone with him, forcing Hank to move on to find that new avenue to pursue his career elsewhere. This is obviously very speculative, but I do expect that these are the kinds of things the show is willing to explore. Okay, let's pour over the other specifics here. Obviously, Boomhauer get iPad. I'm curious how much social media will play a part in the show and how these characters engage with the world through it, and I expect Boomhauer is still a bit of a player, so maybe he's using dating apps on this thing. But we also see that Dale has moved on from cigarettes to vapes, an incredibly common modern occurrence. I sort of expected that Dale would be the type to hold on to cigs, and it's for sure possible that this is just an image being used for this poster to represent the themes of the show, but yeah, as it stands, we might expect Dale to be vaping. I could definitely see him liking the fact that he can get away with vaping indoors more often. And Dale is also face deep in a VR headset. This is a pretty interesting one. I'm particularly curious what kind of insane conspiratorial rabbit holes Dale has fallen down through modern social media and technology, and exploring that through VR could be pretty funny. I've seen a lot of people thinking that Dale would be a full-on QAnon guy, but I kind of get the sense that he might see that stuff as like baby's first conspiracy. He's moved on to the much harder stuff. Speaking of which, we also see a 5G tower in the background here, and that could for sure be a subject of Dale's conspiratorial concerns. That is pretty explicitly shown on the poster. I would be surprised if this was simply to show the passing of time. Obviously, we see the drone carrying the Alamo here, and as we all know, all modern revivals must have a drone in them. It is the law. I don't know why, but for some reason it feels like it makes more sense for King of the Hill to showcase a drone than many of the other revivals that have, especially Futurama. It always feels weird when technology that has emerged recently in our time makes an appearance far in the future, but only like after 8 seasons of the show. And Bill is ordering food through a third-party delivery service like DoorDash, Postmates, or Uber Eats, but this is of course a Megalomart service called Megalo Eats. I'm actually really eager to see how Megalomart has evolved since the show went off the air and how massive it has become. Previously, it was for sure the Walmart parallel and represented at the time modern corporations taking over in these smaller places, often at the expense of local businesses. Showcasing Megalomart as a middleman delivery app is once again continuing this trend, as these apps have largely inserted themselves into the revenue stream at the expense of the restaurants that are forced to use them to keep up. I wouldn't be surprised if we also saw them sort of take over as a modern Amazon equivalent, which would for sure give them a lot of latitude to explore those exact same themes. And we also see a little electric scooter here on the fence, which I personally hope belongs to one of the potential kids we might see in the show. I'm fully expecting Gracie, who is Luann and Lucky's daughter, to be involved, but would particularly love it if we also got Good Hank, aka GH, who is Hank's younger brother. So honestly, again, there is so much to talk about just in this one poster. This, of course, isn't everything we know about the show. Pamela Adlon did reveal that Bobby will be 21 years old and is a chef at a fusion restaurant in Dallas. Gray Delisle leaked this image of Bobby from the cast and crew party, which I have had lovingly recreated here, though we will for sure be getting official images of Bobby soon, so stay tuned. Okay, let's talk briefly about those leaked storyboards. I actually have been talking a lot about the leaks and rumors over on my new channel, Johnny Too Casual, and while I am not showing the leaked storyboards, I do talk about what we see in them in detail in this video, so please go check that out if you want to hear about those. I'll link in the end card, but what you should know is that the scenes that have leaked are very funny. They fully feel like the show we know and love, but aged up a bit. It's really, really exciting stuff and has largely just completely fortified my confidence and excitement for this revival. I actually don't think there's ever been any revival I have been more excited for, except for maybe like Twin Peaks: The Return. Okay, let's talk briefly about some of the other casting leaks and rumors as well. We have gotten confirmation that Khan will now be voiced by comedian and Daily Show correspondent Ronnie Chang. He revealed this himself on a podcast. However, the coolest piece of casting news so far, which technically is still a rumor, but I am about 95% confident in, is that Khan and Cotton's former voice actor Toby Huss will be taking over the role of Dale after Johnny Hardwick's untimely death. Hardwick fortunately recorded a handful of episodes before he passed, so we will get to see his final Dale performances, and I'm very excited that the fans will get to cherish those, but I actually have a lot of confidence in Toby Huss to take over for Johnny. He is truly an incredibly funny voice actor, and that is a really inspired recasting choice given the difficult circumstances. We still do not know what we can expect from Luann or Lucky's role in the show. I expect that since going into the series they had already long passed, that they were written out, and I also expect that they will sort of spiritually be represented by their daughter Gracie. Rumors are that this is who Gray Delisle will be playing, but no confirmation yet. I've said it in many other videos, but I think that Gracie moving into the Hill household to launch the revival would be a perfect parallel to Luann moving into the Hill household back in the pilot of the entire series. I expect that all of this information will be further unveiled when we get a trailer and through the sneak peek that will be coming to the ATX Festival in Austin on May 30th. That panel will probably be showcasing an episode or at least some full scenes, and I think that the panel will likely reveal a lot of the info we've been speculating about, like Toby Huss's role as Dale and how Luann and Lucky will be handled. I also expect that with this poster releasing today, we will almost certainly be getting that trailer very soon, if not later this week, and you know I will be covering that extensively. In fact, my plan is to post a reaction video with immediate thoughts to the trailer over on my more topical channel, Johnny Too Casual, and then a full in-depth trailer breakdown here on the main channel after that. And that is basically where we're at. New poster, lots of new info, tons to speculate about, and lots of excitement. I am stoked. I really think this is going to be a great revival. Let me know below in the comments what you think, and stay very tuned because the floodgates are open now, folks. Peace.
I stay mellow watching Johnny Two Cellos. He talks cartoons, he's a really cool fellow. He keeps you posted on adult cartoons. If that's what you're into, then grab a spoon and a very big bowl of your favorite cereal. Feels like Saturday morning cartoon material. Johnny Two Cellos, watch him on YouTube. Now enjoy this groove and bust a move.